Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pitstop March 2021 edition. This is that bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind: what's rolling out for SharePoint and related technology into Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager on the Microsoft 365 marketing team, and I am here to set the ongoing record straight. This month, I talk with Melissa Torres, our engineering lead on all things hub sites and intelligent intranet. You might know her as Mother of Hubs on Twitter. This month, we chat with Melissa beyond Hubs about the new SharePoint app bar, what it is, and its new role in Microsoft Viva Connections. We'll focus on what landed this month, a few related items, and always the fun teasers looking into next month. This podcast is your 30 minutes to kick back and get informed, the goal being to stay ahead of the ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. One word of caution: there is a tongue twister in the terrifically tantalizing teamwork section. All right, fair warning. On to the tech that rolled out in March 2021. As we always do, we start with employee engagement, the experiences throughout your intranet, primarily when you're communicating one-to-many. The first item is Viva Connections for Teams. This is a big one. This enables people to discover and search intranet content, sites, and news from across the organization right in Microsoft Teams, both desktop and web. Viva Connections for Teams, formerly known as the Home Site app, brings communication, knowledge, learning, resources, and insights together into a new integrated experience. For Viva Connections deployment, we recommend you configure a SharePoint home site with global navigation in the SharePoint app bar, and we will have more to share about that later in the episode. To do this, you grab the PowerShell script from the Microsoft Download Center. I'll put the link in the related blog post, and you are off and running with Viva Connections, a really big milestone for Microsoft Viva All Up, with topics out, connections now available, and rounding the corner in private and public preview are insights and learning. So a lot more to come from Viva, but if you're interested in Viva Connections, now is the time. I want to lightly introduce the SharePoint app bar that does feature global navigation. Your SharePoint Modern Communication and Team sites will soon feature the SharePoint app bar, which provides quick access to customizable global navigation as well as other intranet resources, all accessible for users wherever they might be in SharePoint. I'm going to save some of the details because we're going to chat with Melissa to learn more about the new SharePoint app bar. And I guarantee you're going to hear all the behind the scenes, the design, and a little teaser of what's coming up. In the blog post, I'll put links to all of what you can do with the SharePoint app bar, and soon we'll hear more from Melissa. Next up is Focus Mode for modern SharePoint pages. We're super excited to share this one. It enables SharePoint page authors and viewers to focus on a greater amount of page content by hiding the site header, site navigation, and global navigation bar with just one click. And with another click, it brings it all back when you're ready to unfocus and move on. Next, the SharePoint Events web part will now display event images. SharePoint page authors who use the Events web part can enable an image to show per event. The image is derived from the images or image used in the title area of the event page. Note that existing event web parts that are in use today will not get this update. You have to go in and reprogram or put the Events web part back on the page. But of course, with new web parts that are added to the page, this is something that will show by default, and you can control whether you do or don't show images. Last in this section, SharePoint Page Analytics, an update. It's always important to know about your readers to refine how and when you have them in your post and what they're doing. We're introducing analytics for SharePoint pages, and this applies to news articles as well. You'll be able to see the number of viewers, in addition to seeing information about how users interact with your page or news. In all, analytics provides insights on page viewers, page views, and the average time spent per user. Now it's time to step up to the SharePoint Cantina, the SharePoint watering hole. All right, well, let us learn more about the SharePoint app bar from my colleague, Melissa Torres. It is now time to turn beyond the product to the smarts behind the product. That's right. It is time to have our program manager interview. And this month we are talking to Melissa Torres, who has owned lots of wonderful things. You might have seen her at various events talking about the intranet and architecting sites and pages and news and web parts. But we're getting into that critical thing that we call navigation. So Melissa, welcome back to the IntraZone.
Hi, Mark. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be talking to you today and having you folks listen.
So, Melissa, I kind of hinted at what we're going to talk about today, but before we get into the tech, you have really refined, and the team that you've worked with, spec'd out, developed, and designed things for has really impacted this modern intranet that we can offer out to our customers. Can you give us a little, your 2 cents, maybe 4 cents on the recent strategy around truly now at scale being able to enable robust modern intranets for our customers?
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of alluded to it. We've been on this journey with helping customers really think about how to establish the intranet architecture that meets their needs. And we started very first with a very SharePoint focused. We knew about the ability to form groupings of sites together, and that's where we came up with hubs. And then we released the home site, which is your landing destination for the intranet. And now the SharePoint app bar is the thing that ties it all together, which we're very excited about releasing. And now, with the announcement of Viva Connections, it's not just about having your intranet on the web, but also available via Teams with the Viva Connections desktop app. It's really about this ability of now we have a way to connect with the rest of your employees in your organization and have it a structure. And it's a flexible structure too, which that was one of the biggest differences from the past to the present in the journey we've been on. So that flexibility, and I think this past year has shown us the importance of flexibility and being able to grow.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to deliver a dynamic intranet is one thing. To be able to deliver an intranet that our customers can turn a dime on because of something as impactful as the pandemic, and have content feed out to a lot of people where they are is what changed significantly, right? I want to also get from you, and I'm kind of paraphrasing and stealing from one of your internal memos on this feature, but I thought it was interesting for our audience to also kind of see the logic behind how you make these types of changes and the kind of things that you consider. So knowing that there have been a lot of changes in presenting and developing modern SharePoint, this is one of those features, and obviously we'll get right into the feature itself in a second, the app bar. But this is one of those features that cuts across the SharePoint user experience everywhere, in every site, every page, library, lists. With something like that you know is going to get a lot of visibility and have a lot of impact, how do you go about measuring that so that you have confidence that we are doing it right and it's offering what our customers are asking for?
This feature is actually born out of two major needs. One was the ability to have a global set of resources that went across your entire intranet landscape. And for us in SharePoint world, intranet means not only, our communication sites, which I know a lot of folks consider that to be the big component of the intranet, and it is, but also across, like you said, team sites and lists and document libraries. So have this ever-present set of resources. And the second reason was this need for our users, feedback from end users telling us that they have wayfinding being a struggle for them, being to not knowing where to go to see their list of sites, not knowing where to go to get their files. And so that's what we set out to solve with the SharePoint app bar. So this consistent experience that no matter where you are across SharePoint, you can quickly jump to the global navigation for those important resources provided by your organization, and then for your personal wayfinding with sites, news, and files as a starting point. And we measure everything. So in terms of measuring the success of that feature, for the global navigation component, we do that through customer interviews and doing preview programs with customers to have them try it out first and give us feedback. And so we definitely did this for this feature. And then for the measuring piece the personal wayfinding, we have this core set of metrics around wayfinding, and we look at, are sites healthier now because people can find them more easily? Is news consumption, news click-through healthier because people cannot find their news. So that's how kind of we measure against success here.
And it sounds to me like the balance of getting the right metrics and the right feedback was making it so that it was the most relevant feature that we could ship in the context of navigation. But I also think one of the biggest values, and maybe kind of moving us into talking about what is the app bar, what is it the end user sees, is that a lot of the value is you're actually shipping them a most relevant experience because it's heavily personalized. Navigation element that's personal is obviously going to have a lot more click-through. And that's great for metrics. But when an end user uses the app bar, can you walk us through what that means for their personalized experience and obviously maybe just a little description of the feature itself?
The feature itself, like I mentioned, so the SharePoint app bar is consistently a bar that goes with the user across every single surface. So whether it's a communication site to a team site, on pages, on lists, or on libraries, it's across the entire SharePoint. To be honest, one of the single biggest UX changes that we've done in SharePoint in quite some long time. We're very excited for that. We don't tend to do these big changes like this very often. And with that change, we wanted to make sure that obviously it was as impactful as possible. For that very reason, we surfaced 3 of users' personal wayfinding. And for those, the first one is sites. So we show the user's most frequent and followed sites. Frequent is a combination of the most recent sites that they, recently visited, and that helps them kind of get back to, where they were and what they were doing. And followed, if that means they can follow sites and as a quick way to get back to them. So that's what the sites tab gives you. Then there's the news tab, and that gives you news that either, from the team sites that you visit or your comm sites that you visit, or if your organization has set up organizational news, it also surfaces there. It's the user's personalized news feed is a way to think about it. And then the last tab is files. Files is expected, basically your recent set of files. So the most recently used files. So it's a quick way to jump through to that. And, outside of metrics, as I mentioned, the goal here really was that the feedback was, you can only find stuff in SharePoint if you know where to look. So if you're in a team site, right, that you see the files and the lists and the pages and the news for that team site. And then you navigate to a comm site and you see the files and the news for that comm site. But the app bar breaks that barrier down, right? It's like going across everything. It's ever present, ever there. So it's super easy for you to bring it up, get what you need, and jump across. And so that is the primary thing. So it goes with you wherever you are. It's like transcending the boundaries of site to site, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And I see the value for end users. And I also know that what's also behind it is anything that is a choice that the company is making, how you target your news, which sites are available to whom, from a permissions perspective, the files obviously adhering to, whatever policies that they have in place. And to have a feature that points at all of that and respects all of that and can be programmed so that it is good for the end user and right for IT. It's a pretty, I don't say it's a narrow line, but it's a definite line between the balance of IT and end user. And from what I know you have taken that all into consideration, but to still come out with something that is a benefit to the end user and a delight to use. My hat's off to you, obviously, to the design. Was there any of the IT or audience targeting or any of the Microsoft graph that made it tricky?
To be honest, the complexity was mostly on making sure that it was performant. So from day one, we strive for an experience that was, being so prominently displayed that when you click on it, it immediately comes back, opens super, super fast with immediate data. And so for us, we took performance super seriously. And so I would say there was a lot of complexity there to make sure that we got that right, but it was totally worth it. And we would totally do it again. And then we had the advantage of being able to partner with a lot of our teams. A lot of the APIs that we surface, like you said, to order to surface the sites list, the news lists, the files lists. That was a cross-group effort across multiple teams so that we have the APIs that surface that good information. The nav, to be honest, not to say anything, but the nav was actually pretty simple because we were behind the scenes we use the home site as the source for the navigation.
If from where we've gotten to now, obviously the app bar is just now releasing this month, but you just said that navigation element was really born from what we have already been working on with SharePoint home sites. If we just take that little glimpse into the future with what we have disclosed around Microsoft Viva Connections, and we know that we've got SharePoint home sites, we've got app bar. In your own words and directionally knowing where we're going, what does it mean to bring those things together so that there is this new Viva Connections experience?
Yeah, so I think of Viva Connections, particularly the Viva Connections desktop, as the almost surfacing the best of the app bar and the best of SharePoint within it. And that's how we've been pushing through it, to be honest. The Viva Connections desktop now gives you the ability of not only seeing your communication site, your home site, or actually any site, any communication site that is important within the scope of Teams, but you can also open a version of the app bar, we call the kind of the panel, that features the very best of SharePoint with showing global navigation, showing your news, and showing your sites. That just gives us, you kind of talked about this earlier, another entry point to get to where users are. So for those users who are not, going to the SharePoint site, but still want this goodness, still want the global navigation, still need to find their sites, still need to find their news, they can do so from the goodness being shown in the Viva Connections desktop app. That's very exciting. And at least very exciting to me, like you said in the beginning, to show that journey as we go through and change.
Well, it also, I think, gives a good guidance to the direction that we're headed. We know that we're going to keep working on refining performance, page authoring, web parts, sites, list library, like all of that continues. But to bring effectively the corporate intranet into Teams and have it be a personalized experience that's responsive to that environment and starts to give people access to information where they're working, that's a pretty huge step.
Yeah, it is. And it's an exciting one. And what you see in the app bar today is just our starting point. We have so many awesome ideas for where we're going to take that next. And we're always going to be partnered very closely with the Viva Connections piece so that as we add new stuff, we consider how that surfaces in the Viva Connections desktop app as well. It really boils down to surfacing, helping users find the stuff that they need to with global navigation, and then helping users find the stuff that they need to across SharePoint or even within Teams with the Viva Connections desktop.
Okay, so the last thing is going to be a request for you to coach me on one thing. You'll know what I mean when I get started here, and you'll see why you are the exact right person to coach me on this. I learned from you the best way to end a demo when the demo works. I just want to see if you can help me to see if I'm doing it right. So play along, get ready to coach me. Here we go. Imagine I just did amazing Microsoft List demo, and at the end I say, "Bam." Is that how I do it? Am I doing it right?
It's bam.
Bam. Better?
Bam. Yeah.
Bam.
You have to do louder. You have to do it.
Okay.
Right. You have to
I don't want to hurt your ears, so I'm going to try it one more time. You ready? Bam.
Yes. See, that was it. Yeah. That was much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the inside joke, which is really not inside because it was very public. If you see most any session that Melissa does at the end of a demo, when it's really kind of the amazing pinnacle of what she was just showing you, she closes out with a nice solid bam. The first time I saw it, Melissa, it was just such a pleasure. I was like, oh, do it again.
Yeah, I have to admit, it wasn't planned. It was just, when you practice something and like you really want it to go well and like you just feel the energy in the room where everybody's excited and like it happened and it went well and like it just came out and then I kept coming out in that session and now it's become second nature to say it. And behind the scenes for folks, we do experience reviews where we kind of go through when something's going to ship and make sure that like it meets the quality bar and that we feel that users will understand it. And now when we rate, we have this ability to rate tasks. And when we do that, at the end, if something gets like all green, some folks have adopted the bam.
I love it. Well, to the app bar, maybe we can, in 3, 2, 1, we can do an app bar shipping bam. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Bam!
So much better. You're so much better. I got a lot of work to do. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for getting the app bar out there. And thanks for making any presentation that you give full of energy.
No, thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking to you and Hopefully this is useful and informative for folks. So thanks for listening.
It is always great to hear from Melissa, and it's always great to get a good lesson on how to bam, bam, bam in the exact right way. So moving into teamwork, the first item that I want to share is we've got a new menu item in Microsoft Lists called Integrate. As part of updating the command bar at the top of Microsoft Lists, we are introducing a new top-level menu labeled Integrate. This is the home for features that help extend list experiences. The existing command buttons for Power Apps and Power Automate will move into this new top-level drop-down menu. Once the new experience is available, the Power Apps menu option will disappear. People will need to navigate to the Integrate menu option to access both Power Apps and Power Automate, and, a little teaser coming in the future, the newly announced Power BI integration. So the Integrate drop-down menu will be home to all of the Power Platform integration. Next up is an improved person columns experience in Microsoft Lists. This is actually a great one to see the tangible benefits from Microsoft Graph. We are improving the behavior of person columns in lists by making the suggestions that appear when you type more relevant. When you type in the people picker, the autofill suggestions come from Microsoft Graph. This makes the people picking experience more personalized based on who you work with and what you're doing most often. That might be a mouthful when you think about people picking for a second, so to clarify, if I closely worked with a colleague named Peter Piper, I might say, I picked Peter Piper as the top pick of people picking out of a peck of people. Peter Piper, my colleague, I picked from the top of the people picker. Where then is the peck of unpicked people named Peter I didn't pick? The answer, of course, lies in the graph-based list of Peters I don't know, making Peter Piper people picking pitch perfect. Next up is we are rounding the corners and making available the ability to migrate content from Box to Microsoft 365. This new feature gives SharePoint and Microsoft 365 admins a streamlined support to migrate content from Box into Microsoft 365. That's Box files and folders, as well as conversion of Box notes into Word documents to where you choose their destination, which can be OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams. When you connect to a Box Enterprise account, the service discovers users and their files. The service will automatically map to an individual's OneDrive account, and you can manually map to very specific OneDrive user accounts or route to SharePoint sites or a Teams channel for content that's meant to be stored in a shared location. I also want to highlight that there are 2 related migration webinars for Microsoft coming up. On Tuesday, April 6th, there's a session called Choosing the Right Tools for your Microsoft 365 migration. And on the following Tuesday, April 13th, Best Practices for Data Migrations to Microsoft 365. These are with some of our best migration experts, giving you all the tools, the techniques, the know-hows, and the best practices. 2 great webinars if you're interested in how to move and migrate content from multiple sources into Microsoft 365. We're going to round out teamwork with one quick important update. We fixed the issue when you rename a channel in Teams that the rename will now flow properly over to SharePoint and rename the corresponding folder of that channel. One caveat, if a folder is being synced via OneDrive Sync, the new channel folder rename will not yet update through to the synced desktop folder with OneDrive shared folders. It's a known issue and it is being addressed. It's just not available at this particular time. Let's turn our attention to related technology. First up, guest access in Yammer is now generally available. We know organizations need to engage with vendors, partners, customers, consultants, and other stakeholders while adhering to privacy and security policies that keep your business running smoothly. This new feature in Yammer is powered by Azure B2B, which enables you to share your company's applications and services with guest users from any other organization while maintaining control over your corporate data. So, invite with confidence. And note, Yammer communities with external members are denoted by a globe icon next to the individual's name. I have a great link in the blog post to learn more about guest access in Yammer. The next related item is really a related forum. There's a new Microsoft 365 PNP hub within the Microsoft tech community, and this has some amazing resources, guest blogging opportunities, and of course, community engagement. This is not just for MVPs. It's a great place for new aspiring community members to learn a lot and, of course, share a lot. The initiative is being driven by Louisa Fries, Vesa Javonen, and Waldek Marstikars, and there's a lot of content there already, and maybe yours soon. If you have something to share and are looking for a blog vehicle to get the word out to the community, remember, PNP always says sharing is caring, and they share and care about you. A heads up, this is an FYI, we are retiring the Delve mobile apps for iOS and Android. We will fully retire Delve mobile apps for iOS and Android on June 1st, 2021. Going forward, we recommend using the Outlook mobile instead. With Outlook, you'll find profile information and relevant files on individuals' profile cards, and recommended documents appear in Outlook's Search tab. So 2 key dates to remember about the Delve mobile apps retirement milestones. On and after March 1st of 2021, we'll remove the ability to install new installations of the Delve mobile apps from the App Store and Google Play. And then on June 1st, 2021, existing Delve mobile installations will stop getting insights. So on June 1st, 2021, the Delve mobile apps for iOS and Android will be completely retired. Okay, that rounds out the related section, but I do have one more item that I got to be involved in, and I know a lot of other people, both inside and outside of Microsoft, got to celebrate. And that was a recent event, SharePoint turned 20. That's right. Just a couple of years ago, 2 decades ago, on March 27th, 2001, SharePoint was born. And last Saturday, March 27th, 2021, we denoted this. We marked it. We shouted it to the largest echoes and corners of the internet that it was SharePoint's 20th birthday. And it was a great day. It was a great event that was in collaboration with our friends at the European Collaboration Summit, Addis Hugo and Spencer Harbar, who put on a great event and invited a lot of people, both inside and outside, within the community. What a journey that started on premises, moved to the cloud, and exists as a core platform and service to so many other apps and services, now lives on in infamy with loads of stories, videos, timelines, and more. Lots of new assets. A retrospective blog, a new SharePoint 20 years young episode of the Interzone, and more, lots more. I put a ton of it in a very unique special blog with everything contained at aka.ms/SPAT20. So check it out, hear all the stories, read about the history, dig through the archive. SharePoint spawned so many great things from a technology perspective, from an industry's perspective, and all that it helped to shape, and the collective community, the best community in technology, hands down. Okay, now time to close your eyes and visualize the future. Here are 2 teasers for what's coming in April 2021. Teaser number 1. Immersive reader for SharePoint pages and news. Similar to this month's focus mode, this takes it further along the lines of improving accessibility. Teaser number 2, Microsoft Lists visualize data with Power BI. I hinted at it earlier, and I'm hinting at it again. If you're a dashboard aficionado, start your engines. That's it with this month's Crystal Ball. We'll share more details and other updates within the full SharePoint Roadmap Pitstop April 2021 edition next month. We've added a list of important resource links in the show notes and in the corresponding blog post on the Microsoft Tech community within the SharePoint community blog, giving you all that you need to get up to speed and to stay ahead. I hope you've enjoyed this Roadmap Pit Stop. Time to relax now, knowing you're all caught up for this busy, busy month. If anything still leaves you scratching your head with open questions or concerns, please send us your thoughts and comments to theinterzone@microsoft.com. We are here to put both our and your best change management foot forward. Until next month, may your Peter Piper people picking be prosperous for the next 20 years and beyond.